Hi there, guys and girls. I wanted to do a video. I wanted to do a video on this topic for a while, actually, and something actually sort of took me back or reminded me to do this video. It's something I always have video ideas floating around in my head, but so what happened was I don't know, about 6 days ago, MK Secrets. I don't even know where he got this, by the way. I've been looking for this thing for like forever. An extended version of Into Our World, the making of Mortal Kombat 3. He's found that and he's uploaded it to his channel. And see, I've always known that there's a 45-minute version out there that was aired on Thanksgiving Day in America, 95, and that it went for 45 minutes and it had a bunch of extra footage. The one we got in the game, the runtime's like 28 minutes. This one's also like 28 minutes. This says it's an unreleased extended version. There's footage in this that isn't in the other 28-minute version. But I feel like this is like a first edit. I don't think it's that Thanksgiving Day one. I'm not sure, to be honest. You know, I'm actually not sure. So I did email Chris Scrunks a while ago, who is an editor who edited this video, the Into Outworld. And he said, yes, I confirm I have the 45-minute version, but he couldn't send it to me. And sadly, he passed away a couple of years after that, so I can't ask him for it again. And I've tried asking other people and Josh Way and stuff like that, but they said they might be able to look into it, but I haven't heard anything back. So it's something that I've been honestly looking for like easily like 24 years. Like easily. Let's say going back to 2000. It was around that time that I sent that email. I'm not sure exactly when, but it was around that time. Maybe a little later, maybe 2004. It might be like a solid 20 years. I've been looking for that video for this long. Because I like all this behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, this video this is part of the extra behind the scenes. So the original has a little bit of Dan Forden talking about audio design. And this one has a little bit longer, a little bit more footage about that. And I wanted to play it to you because this is the point I was making with Mortal Kombat 1. And this is the point I always make that why people love the music in Mortal Kombat and Dan Forden's music. It's really special, especially in the arcade. And I'm going to go into that in a second. There's something I always tell people about the arcade games with Mortal Kombat, about how the music's done, how it's engineered in the software, to give the player like a more immersive interaction with the game. And but before we go to that, let's just play this. Just listen to what Dan Forden says here. It's so important, and this is what I've been talking about, like why the select screen needs to have music in the current Mortal Kombat and not ambience. Like, this is why. Just listen to what he says about mood and tone and to get you into the game. He says it all in this video. And this was back in 1993. Let's watch.
This is the sound area. This is where they make all the sounds for the games.
You try to imagine the action of playing the game and what the music's gonna do to like get you revved up. Ed gives me a videotape of just sort of scrolling through the backgrounds. I just look at that and try to get some idea about the kind of mood, the kind of setting that we're trying to represent. Now this one in particular, I was thinking, well, this reminds me of Mortal Kombat 2. It's got that very dark outworld feel that looks like Goro with this green thing in his mouth. I try to get a rhythm going and then fill it out with harmony.
Toasty! Toasty! It evolved from your toast.
That's Ed Boon, pitched down a few semitones.
So, I mean, in the movie, he's a Scorpion. You'll see in the credits, I've done a voice of Scorpion.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
Replay.
You know, Shao Kahn was played by Steve Ritchie, who is the king, as we all know him. Pinball designer.
Flawless victory.
Basically, everyone has a set of speech calls for attacking, punching, getting hit, getting hit in the face, getting hit in the body.
Animality or animality, what do you want?
Animality.
Animality.
Animality. I'm not sure if you say animality as in like you were bald, or if it was just a different pronunciation, but that's funny. Yeah, but just did you hear what he said? The first thing he said is, "What's gonna get you revved up in the game?" And then he talked about the mood and the setting. And then he talked about how the Soul Chamber from Mortal Kombat 3, which is one of the darkest stages, it's one of the almost out of a fish out of water stage, because Mortal Kombat 3 is urban. It's supposed to be set in our world, but there's an area because technically Earthrealm's merging with our world. Some of the Outworld influence is like coming into our world, and so this is one of those stages where there's like a soul chamber, there's like a soulnado in the background and all creepy sort of imagery and stuff. And he says, yeah, it's a darker level, and it reminds me of Mortal Kombat 2, which is something that I always say Mortal Kombat 2 had the best tone, because it knew it was dark and it knew the music had to be like that. Do you know what I mean? And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the exact thing. And here it is, in video, from the guys who make the game, what happened with Mortal Kombat 1. And it's not like that the new guys who make music for Mortal Kombat suck. I just feel like you got a new person, they're going to have a new style or a new way of doing things. See, I love video game music, like, more than... I can talk video game music for a long time. Like, I have in my car, like, Commodore 64 music, Mega Drive music, PC music, arcade music, you know, CD music. Do you know what I mean? Like, Mario. Do you know what I mean? Sonic. It's all on my car. Like, I just love that stuff. Streets of Rage, Yuzo Koshiro. Do you know what I mean? I have all my favourite music. Mick Gordon, Killer Instinct. Do you know what I mean? Dan Forden, Mortal Kombat. You know, Matt Furnace. You know, Terminator 2, Mortal Kombat, Castle Master. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love game music. I also love normal music as well. But, you know, video game music's really a big part for me. You know, I love to listen to it loud. I'm probably ruined my hearing with how loud. Ask anybody who's been in my car how fucking loud I have my stereo. It's bad. I know it's bad. I don't know why I do it. But I just love to have music loud when I'm in the car. I just love it. Do you know what I mean? That being said, you know, it's not that these other... And Mortal Kombat 9 is a perfect example. It's not like... Because they had all that... The audio team on Mortal Kombat 9... I forget the names now. There was like... It's like 4 music guys, I think, from memory. Hang on. I might be able to bring something up quickly while I'm live. Hang on a second. I forget their names, but I know I made a soundtrack somewhere. Yes, there it is. I'm just going to hit pause on that. Yeah, so we had... I know I put the names in somewhere. I know I put the names in. Where are they gone? That's strange. I thought I had the names in there. Let me put another one. No. Oh. Forgot my damn names. Oh. It's like 4 guys. I've forgotten blank to their names. It's like, I honestly can't remember. Maybe, oh, hang on. I think I know where it was now. It might have been MKDC where I put all their names in. I think MKDC had the same sort of audio team as well. Is that it? That's it. Sasha Dickissian, Chris Velasak, Tob Himmerman, Marcus Schmidt, Tillman. Yeah, so Pierre Langer. I have Alexander Pfeiffer. As you can, yeah, so there was a whole bunch of people like that. That's technically Mortal Kombat versus DC, but I believe they went on to MK9 as well. But what I'm saying is, you can have new audio guys that you know, weren't on the original arcade games or whatever, or 3D era. They were like the later 3D the current era, I guess you would say. Or the end, I guess you'd say the end of the 3D era. But you can have them, but they still worked with like Dan and that. It's like Deception. I think Deception's the best example. And I think Deception had a lot of music was done by Dan Forden, but there was also music being done by like what's his name? Man, my brain is not working today. The guitar guy. Slaughterhouse Drive by the Cruising USA guitars guy. Oh God, Blake! What's his name? Man, my brain is just not functioning today. Oh, what's his name? Vince Pontarelli. There it goes. Okay. So you had tracks that were made by like Vince Pontarelli. You had tracks that were done by Dan Forden in Deception. And that's where I really started to see the overlap, where there were more tracks being made by other people. And, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but I feel like MK1... like, the music's actually pretty decent. It is. But I just feel like it doesn't have... Because... the best way to explain it would be like... you got a new guy doing music for Outworld in the Mortal Kombat games, right? And he's a great musician. And he can make great tunes, and he has. But... the original guy that used to do music for Outworld had a different sound. So it doesn't sound... well, not right. It sounds different. Because his Outworld music was a different style to this guy's Outworld music. Do you know what I mean? I also feel music's become almost too cinematic with the Mortal Kombat 1 games. Too cinematic. Too much ambience. Too much... I don't know. I'm like, save all that for your cutscenes. Like, it's definitely works in the cutscene part of the game. When you're just playing through the cutscenes and you've got... the best example I can give you of that is that cutscene music is the outro to every one of my videos. I use the same one. The that's from MK9 when Shah Kahn's defeated. It's literally called Kahn's Defeated. Do you know what I mean? That's from the cutscenes. It sounds great. It sounds so cinematic. It's great. It's just so powerful way to end a video. That's why I use it there. But it just, in the game, it was so powerful too when you beat Shah Kahn. You hear that music. Do you know what I mean? So you can definitely have those guys doing cinematic music. But if you've got Dan Forden on your team, why isn't he injecting some of his original flavour into these new tracks? Why isn't he making any tracks? Like, any. Like, as far as I know, he's not making any tracks for like the new Mortal Kombat game. Like, it's a crime to me. It's like a literal crime. You've got this guy who made some of the most iconic music, and maybe he doesn't want to do it. Here's the thing. As a fan, I don't know shit. I can only guess, right? Unless there's a video out there or something comes out that confirms it. But I've never... and this is why I always say I wish in these... when they do these interviews and collections with people on the Mortal Kombat games, they need to ask the audio guy more questions, the background artist person more questions, the GUI artist more questions, the guy that does the character renders more questions. I want to get deep with the MK team on the work that they do. It's not just always about Ed Boon and, like, you know, the bigwigs. Do you know what I mean? They're the team leaders, of course. But I want to hear about the people who do the work behind the scenes too, like people like Tony Goski, who do fantastic art, Steve Baran. They just do such great work on the game, and like we need to see more of them, like, you know, talking about what they do. Like, and they're just the old school guys. There's a whole bunch of new guys as well that they can have as well. You remember when they did the MCast, and I don't remember which episode it was, but one of the episodes they had one of the artist guys on. That was the best MCast episode. I hated all of that MCast shit. I couldn't stand it. I honestly, I watched the MCast. I watched them talk about what was new. I watched them talk about the change to invasions. Then I turned it off straight away. I didn't care about the matchups. I didn't care about the moves. Like, what does what now? And I mean, that's just me because I'm not a pro player, right? I don't give a shit about that. I wanted to hear what they were doing on the game, what was changed, blah blah, right? When we had a guy sitting there on the couch telling us about the background artwork and the environments, I like that. I like hearing about the production on the game. That's what I want to know about, right? That being said, you know, you've got this fantastic guy that made this music, and I don't know, maybe he's just said, I'm never making music ever again. Maybe he doesn't want to do it. I don't know, because this is what I mean by I don't know, right? Maybe Dan Forden said, fuck it, I'm out. I'm not making music for Mortal Kombat anymore. I don't know. Maybe they've said to him, oh, we're going to get someone else to do music. It's a contract. They're contracted by WB and Water Tower Records or blah, 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 blah. Which is a very likely possibility, right? It could be that. Because we know Dan Forden still works at NRS. And we know he still does audio work. But I don't know why he's not making tracks. Do you know what I mean? And there were things... Excuse me. There were things in like the Living Forest. There was like magic flutes and like throwbacks to like Dan Forden's music. There were like references or what you would call a music cameo, I guess you could say, to make you think of that. But there's nothing like when the original guy does it. Trust me on this, because like I'm someone who, like I said, I love music. So for example, I love Streets of Rage, and then when I found out Yuzo Koshiro released a CD of the Streets of Rage music, I knew I could get it better quality than on the Mega Drive, because the Mega Drive had a limited audio playback hertz. You know, when I hear it on a CD quality rip, I'm going to hear, it's going to just sound so much better, you know, and that's done by the same guy. He knows his music. It's his baby. So that is the way I like to hear it. It's like with also Reformation by Matt Gray. I'm a huge Last Ninja fan, and so like I love Last Ninja music. I used to have it recorded on tapes in high school and listen to it on Walkmans and everything, crazy shit. Do you know what I mean? From my Commodore 64, I used to just set the recorder up next to the Commodore 64 while it was playing the music and press record, and I would listen to it. Do you know what I mean? Like when he announced, and Matt Gray was like gone, like not around for like so long, and then he just appeared and he's like, I'm doing this thing called Reformation, and it was him like remastering all his tracks and making like new versions, and it was really, really good. Some parts I don't really like, some parts of it, you know, there's like some really long lead-ins, but like some of it's just so amazing. Like it's because it's his music. He's the guy to make a new version of it, or a remaster of it, right? So why aren't we using Dan Forden to do like the Living Forest in MK1? Like, is my question. Do you know what I mean? And here's the thing. This is what I wanted to say about Dan Forden's audio design. This is what people think overlook this, and I think it's so great because, like I said, as someone who loves like Frank Klepacki, Mick Gordon, Dan Forden, Robin Beanland, Graham Norgate, all these great musicians, right? They all have something special about what they do. Frank Klepacki, the Command & Conquer soundtracks are amazing. They're not just generic war game music. They have like emotion and feel to them, and like it's not just like boom, 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 boom. Like it has that too. My best example would be like if you've ever played Red Alert and you've heard Bigfoot, which is usually the start of every mission. I think when you're Soviet is Bigfoot, and that's because all the levels are like ice levels, or maybe the Allied levels. Sorry, the Allied levels. Anyway, Bigfoot, you can just, the way it starts, it just sounds cold. It sounds ice-like. It sounds, from the get-go, from the first 3 seconds, it just sounds like what you're seeing. You know what I mean? And then the music evolves and it goes into parts where it's like, you know, the music changes and like becomes, you know, when the beat kicks in, it's almost like that's when you deploy your construction yard, start building your base. Do you know what I mean? The music is done in such a great way, and like I said, it's not just generic war music where it's just like boom, 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 and it just repeats, you know. The whole track has like a lead in and like a middle body part A, middle body part B, sort of like then like a lead out, and then like a fade out, or like a track end. you know, and it's almost, my best example would be like the music's like alive. It's like living. It's not robotic and generic and repetitive. Do you know what I mean? The tracks really, when you hear them, it reminds you about what. So I can listen to those tracks and I can see the game. You know what I mean? Because they're that good. You know? And that's his craft. He makes great fucking music. Frank Lepaki, absolute legend. And then you got like Mick Gordon, right? So Mick Gordon, he comes along. He does Killer Instinct. He does all these other great games. But I know him the best for Killer Instinct, right? And he's told the story before about how he didn't want to just copy their music. Right, Robin Beanland and Graham Norgate. He wanted to make something new, and I think that the feedback was they didn't like what he made originally, and then he went back to them for inspiration, or not inspiration. He asked, "What should I do?" And they're like, "Don't be afraid to just put in some of the stuff that we did." And then as soon as he did that, he came up with great things that were still unique, but had what I talked about, those cameo references to like the original Killer Instinct, like the select screen music or whatever, the Orchid theme, play out, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like real dance, dance sort of style, fast beat music. Even in just the cameo could just be the style of the track. Do you know what I mean? And this is what he does. And so he carried this over to Doom as well, which I have played as well. The original Doom, not Doom Eternal. I won't play that. Or the new Doom, because, fuck Bethesda. But the original 2016 Doom he worked on and was fully credited for, so I'll play that one. I've streamed it before. But the length that he went to on Killer Instinct and Doom to create music, it wasn't just I'll sit there at the keyboard and this is this and I'll import these instruments or whatever they're doing, I'll use these pedals and blah blah blah. No, he was going off to like monk temples for the Jago theme and learning how to do the like, because he couldn't find someone to do it right or something, and he was putting in that extra work, and on Doom he was just having so much fun hiding Easter eggs in the audio tracks, hiding like demonic symbols and 666 like in the spectrograph of people who were crazy enough to like reverse engineer the audio files and look at them like in an audio program, and they'd start seeing all this stuff and people were like, oh my god, that's so awesome. He did all this crazy shit, and that's what he liked to do. He liked to go above and beyond with his design to make the music great. And so Frank Lepaki's music was really suited to the material. It had a codependence almost, not a codependence. It just a complement. They complemented each other, I guess you could say. His music complemented the environment, the visuals. Mick Gordon's was, almost overly engineered from what when you hear him talk about what he's done, what he's accomplished, and then you hear it, and then people like Robin Beanland and Graham Norgate, who make a fantastic soundtrack for Killer Instinct, some really great tunes, some really awesome stuff, and it just really went with that game. And then even Robin Beanland's soundtrack for Donkey Kong Country, which everyone always talks about, that the mood on that soundtrack is like perfectly fitted to the game that you play, right? And then you've got like Dan Forden, and this is what I want to talk about with Dan Forden. He did something on Mortal Kombat that I never see anyone mention, but it wasn't in Mortal Kombat 1, forget Mortal Kombat 1, but it was on Mortal Kombat 2 and on Mortal Kombat 3 arcade only. Because what I've noticed is, once these come out on a home console, the music gets fucked with. And not to the degree of me ranting about the Mortal Kombat arcade collection. That was like butchered. That's why I did that video. When I say fucked with, basically what happens is, in the arcade version of Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, every level is split into two pieces of music. And a lot of people don't realize this. So round 1 plays almost like half the song, and it repeats, right? Just round 1. And that's because round 1 is the round that, you know, it's the first round, right? It's almost like, it's, how do you put it? It's like the round where you could relax the most, because it's only the first fight, win or lose, right? Secondly, though, round 2 is where it gets hectic. Because if you lost round 1 and you lose round 2, you're out. Right? So round 2 and above have more hectic music. It plays the second part of the track. Right? And a lot of people don't realize this. So, like I said, in MK 2 and 3, round 1 loops, right? And then round 2 plays more of the track, and it plays the more hectic part, almost the second part of the track, where it puts you a bit more on edge. So when you're playing the arcade game, you might not realize this, but when the music ramps up and becomes a bit more hectic, it puts like a sort of a pressure on you, right? On both of you, on both players, or even one player, if you're playing the computer. It puts a pressure on you to win, and you don't realize it. You, as they always say, Red Letter Media always says, you might not have noticed, but your brain did. Right? It's something that you hear. It's part of the background music. It's part of the drive of the game, and it's something that Dan Forden did. And no one ever really mentions it. And this is what I wanted to make a video on, is basically this. Is that I've never seen anything like it. He literally took a track and split it in 2, almost, and had like the first part looping for round 1, and then round 2 more like the second part, with all the more hectic, all the ramp ups, you know, all the faster drum beats. Do you know what I mean? And I can play you an example of this right now, if I import something. Let's do that. Here we go. Here's an example of Living Forest. So this is round 1. Okay? Just gonna turn down a bit. This is round 1. Living Forest, Mortal Kombat 2. See how it's looping? Now, if I now put in the round 2 music, let's listen. So you heard that, right? It becomes different. Here's another example. Let's do, say, MK3. This is a subway. Round 1. Stop there. Loop. See? Stop. Loop. Now let's hear the next part of the subway. Which is this part. And so great. It's just so awesome. And like I said, it's something that you may never have noticed playing Mortal Kombat on arcade. But I did. I started to notice it when I was making videos at home and I had the machine at my house and no other machines around and I could really hear it properly. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's a nice touch. Just to make that second round music more exciting, to have that second part, well, yeah, that sort of extended part of the track play, which makes it all exciting. If you download a CD version of it, it's just the whole track. It just plays the first part and then like the second part as all as one piece of music. But in the arcade, it's split. The round 1 music loops, and then the round 2 music loops that second part where, like I said, where it ramps up and brings up the excitement. And you know, this is also true on my favorite music, which is the Portal. I forget which which 2 wave files I had. The Portal. I don't know if I've prepared this properly. That's it. It's my favourite tune. Round 1. Right, and then we hear the second part, and this is where I first noticed this was on the Portal stage. That second part makes it sound really hectic when that second part kicks in, which I love. That's when it really ramps up the action. Dun, 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 dun. Na, 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 na. Dun, 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 dun. You hear that? That's excitement. When you have that going on in the background, while you're trying to win, while you're trying to beat the computer or another person, it makes it exciting. Do you know what I mean? And Dan Forden did that. I just never seen any other fucker do that. I'm like, Do you know what I mean? Like, I've played so many games. I've played Commodore 64, Atari, Mega Drive, Sega, Master System, Mega Drive, Super Nintendo. I can't think of any other example of where, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist out there because I haven't heard everything in the world, believe it or not, but to split your music like that and have like the same tune almost sort of split into two parts, and where the second part adds that excitement element, because in Mortal Kombat, like I said, round 2 and above are the exciting rounds. They're the deciding rounds, and that's why it's exciting. The round 1 is not a deciding round. It's anybody's game. Player 1 wins, player 2 wins, computer wins, you win. It doesn't mean you're out. It means you've lost the first, and you need to win 2, right? Or whatever you got to set to. Usually 2, right? So the second round's the deciding round. That's why adding that excitement element made it exciting in the arcade. And like I said, people didn't really even fucking notice this, but you heard it. You heard it and probably didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? And that's why Dan Forden's a fucking legend. Do you know what I mean? And he's a genius. You know, and that's why, you know, Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, they're just so, the games are so great. You listen again to what he says in this video. Watch it again about mood and getting excitement. Getting excited. I'll play it one more time.
This is the sound area. This is where they make all the sounds for the games.
You try to imagine the action of playing the game and what the music's going to do to like get you revved up.
You try to imagine playing the game and what the music's going to do to get you revved up. Do you know what I mean? He understood that when you play the arcade game, it has to be exciting. And this little engineering edit that he did by splitting Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 tracks into 2 parts, sort of the docile part and the more exciting part, was like such a great choice and such a drive behind the music. You know what I mean? On top of that, the music tracks are just fucking great as well. You know, so, you know, when he says this stuff, I'm like, oh my God. And this is what I'm talking about by select screen. You know, you listen to, and I'm going to add another thing in here. Just listen to this. Well, everybody agrees. Where is it? There. This is the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance select screen music. Sorry, this is the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance select screen music by Dan Forden. And this is the Pick Your Fighter music. It just sounds so damn exciting. Just listen to it. You know what I mean? You hear that? You see in the video about him talking about what gets you revved up to play the game? Let's continue on. He really knows what he's talking about.
Ed gives me a videotape of just sort of scrolling through the backgrounds. I just look at that and try to get some idea about the kind of mood, the kind of setting that we're trying to represent.
So he gets a tape given to him with the visuals of the graphics, and then he tries to work out the mood of the music and the setting. And this is something that I've always talked about, how, you know, those old tunes, you know, any MK2 music, you feel like you're in Outworld. You feel the setting. You know it's Outworld because all the music's dark and foreboding and strange. Do you know what I mean? And all those tunes have mood behind them too. Like the Deadpool sounds sort of calm, like da 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 da, because it's like level 1. Da da da. It sounds sort of like nothing. But then by the time you get to, like, I don't know, Air Combat, Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I mean? It's got like a faster pace. You get to the portal, you know, you got that great sound. You know, the portal is also used in the last level, Shao Kahn's Arena. You know what I mean? And that's what he's talking about in this video, and that carried on obviously to MK3 as well. Let's keep watching.
Now this in particular, I was thinking, well, this reminds me of Mortal Kombat 2. It's got that very dark outworld feel that looks like Goro with this green thing in his mouth.
Very dark outworld feel. The Soul Chamber, one of the greatest tracks in MK3.
I try to get a rhythm going, and then fill it out with harmony.
You hear that? It gets a rhythm going, something catchy, and then fills it out with harmony. You know, and those are the best video game musics. Always have usually a great, you know, harmony to them, a great beat in the background, depending on how many voices you got to work with. You know what I mean? And this is what made his music so great. You know.
Toasty! Toasty! It evolved from your toast.
That's Ed Boon, pitch down. A few semitones.
So I mean, in the movie, he's a Scorpion. You'll see in the credits that the voice of Scorpion.
Replay.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
You know, Shao Kahn was played by Steve Ritchie, who is the king, as we all know him. Pinball designer.
Flawless victory.
Basically, everyone has a set of speech calls for attacking, you know, punching, getting hit, you know, getting hit in the face, getting hit in the body.
Animality or animality, what do you want?
Animality.
Animality.
Animality. Yeah, so, you know, I'll play another example. Why not do another one? Mortal Kombat 2. Let's check it out. That's the wrong one. Whoops. That's also the wrong one. I thought I had another example set up. Oh, maybe I didn't record Air Combat. I thought I did. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, sorry about that. That's all I got. I made my example. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and Dan Forden'S audio design on basically, you know, having tracks that were split gave the game a ramp up in immersion. It gave it an excitement element. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that people just never mention. They never fucking mention it. And this is one of the reasons why I was so fucking pissed off at that arcade collection. When they butchered his music and they shortened tracks. They shortened like even the round tracks. Each round. And then it was all a mess. And then the audio was stopping and being weird. And I hope, hopefully this new Legacy collection doesn't use any of that tech. I don't think it will. I think they're going to use their own emulators. I don't think they'll go anywhere near that arcade collection. You know, that's going to be great to just have it properly emulated. Those guys, you know, I played Cowabunga collection and they've done such a great job with that. So I have full faith in them with the Mortal Kombat Legacy collection. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video. I've wanted to make this video for a long time to show you that stuff with Mortal Kombat that a lot of people just never really realized was going on in the background when you play the arcade game. That the round 1 music, like I said, it's a bit more docile. The round 2 music ramps things up, makes it exciting. And that's the sort of thing, that's the sort of talent that you need to have working on the current games. Like I said, I'm not opposed to more people being on the audio team. You know, I think what they did with MK9 music-wise was amazing. I loved the Mortal Kombat 9 soundtrack. Like, it was perfect. That reimagining. And I was the guy who broke that news. First in the world, by the way, baby. When I interviewed Ed Boon and I asked him about the music, no one else did. Do you know what I mean? And this is why you need fans like me. You know, because the IGN people, they ask the stupid questions that every other guy asks that goes through there. The GameSpot and IGN guys, they don't... I feel like when they're not fully invested in something like I was, they ask the same stupid questions like, which character's coming back? Oh yeah. So what's this new gimmick that you got? Like they've been told before the interview that, I don't know, it's got the aggressor thing. Oh, so what's this new aggressor thing about? You know? And then they ask about that, and then the interview comes off so phony and generic, where someone like me is like, what's the music going to be like? Is it going to be like, because it's like a, you know, it's a retelling of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3. Is it going to be the same music? Is it going to be new music? Like, what's it going to be like? Do you know what I mean? That's why. Anyway, shout out to Dan Forden. Absolute legend. I'm hoping, you know, when we move forward with Mortal Kombat, I'm hoping after the Legacy Collection, we do get a Mortal Kombat 12. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping, because I'm seeing a lot of things. I'm seeing a lot of healing in the video game industry. You know, I've been complaining about woke stuff a lot, you know, and things, you know, questionable design choices being put into games. And I've noticed a lot of that stuff rescinding, you know, because DEI has been removed from a lot of the corporate workplaces in America, and a lot of corporate workplaces now aren't getting kickbacks. They're not getting money to put all this dumb shit in their game. So they're abandoning it, which is fantastic. We're going to get back to form. And I feel like, and here's the best example I can give you guys, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, which I like. I stand by the fact that it's a good game. But it is missing a bit of the features, you know, it could have had a few more features and stuff. But I stand by it's a really good game. You know what I mean? It's just that without the fatalities, people got upset. I don't like the close quarters combat. I like the free fall combat. I don't mind the test your might. You know, and generally just a fun game to play with the crossover being MK and DC in the same game, not in separate games, not like Injustice is a totally separate world game. That's why I always say I wish I would just do Injustice versus Mortal Kombat or something. If they have to not do a Mortal Kombat game and they have to do a DC game, I would just put Mortal Kombat characters in it, not one character, like actually have it part of the story and part of the immersion, right? You know what I mean? I like that about MKDC. See, I know nothing about DC characters other than Batman, basically, and I watched Superbad the other night. You know what I mean? I'm a very, very casual fan. So when I played MKDC, I quite enjoyed it. I liked the similarities between the characters were great. How there was like Raiden and there was like Shazam and like, you know, there was like Shang Tsung. Oh, there was like Quan Chi could do all the weird sorcery stuff, and you know, there was like Green Lantern, or you know, there was similarities with the characters. Katana, Wonder Woman, do you know what I mean? Batman, Sub-Zero, you know. Anyway, it made it interesting, you know. Not all characters were similar, but, you know, that's what made it good, you know. So, anyway, I feel like the video games industry is healing, and MK12 could be the sort of game where if MKDC wasn't well received, which it wasn't, right? I can admit that. However, MK9 was baller. It was insane. The shit they accomplished with MK9. So, MK1 failing could be a good thing. It could mean that MK12 is going to be insane. It's not going to have any needles anymore, any more bullshit that I don't like. It's just going to be a good game. And hopefully we get Dan Forden back on music. Hint, hint. Anyway, that's it. Oh, Dan Forden back on music. Select screen music, please. At least, can you get him to do the select screen theme? Select screen theme, please. Alright, that's it. Said my bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys next time for another one. Peace out.